Two popular bullies, Preston and Jake, shoved new student Harper to the floor of the school bus, taunting, "Lick the floor, new girl. That's where trash belongs." But Harper's eyes are cold, focused, and unshakable. She taps a hidden device on her wrist and whispers, "Agent Mills, Code Black, activated." Within seconds, her live humiliation is turned into federal evidence. Every shove, every smirk recorded and uploaded directly to the FBI. Black SUVs swarm the school, and Preston's father is dragged away in handcuffs. Harper calmly watches, already packing her bag, fierce and determined, knowing this was never about hiding. She was hunting. The quiet girl they thought they could crush just became an unstoppable force, and this is only the beginning. Two bullies, Preston and Jake, stood inches away from Harper on the school bus. They sneered at her as she shuffled down the aisle, each step a testament to their unwavering determination. The sun beat down upon them like molten steel, casting shadows across the metal roof that separated them from the rest of the students. Preston's eyes scanned the crowd for someone who might be able to help Harper, but no one seemed willing or brave enough to stand up against these bullies. Jake sneered at her once again, his taunts echoing through the bus as he glared down at her with a calculating eye. "You're lucky you don't know what it's like," he growled, his voice low and menacing. Harper gritted her teeth, determination in her eyes as she prepared to take on these bullies head-on. She knew that if they managed to get hold of her, it would change everything for her. They had been taunting her at school ever since the day she arrived, spreading rumors about how weak and innocent she was. "Are you ready?" Jake asked, his voice barely above a whisper as he reached out with one hand to grab Harper's elbow. She flinched slightly, but didn't let him touch her. "We'll show him who's boss," he sneered. Preston snickered behind them, their laughter echoing through the bus. Harper knew that she needed something more than just strength and courage to defeat these bullies. She had a plan in place, one that would allow her to use her unique skills and gadgets to take down the entire gang without anyone getting hurt. She quickly placed the hidden device on her wrist, activating its built-in camera system. The flash illuminated their faces as she spoke, causing them to pause for an instant before launching into a series of precise attacks. They couldn't hear or see Harper's movements, but they could feel the vibrations in the bus and the pressure from Preston's father dragging him away. Preston's face twisted in anger as he tried to fight back against her. He gritted his teeth, barking commands at Jake and other members of the gang, but it was all for nothing. Harper moved with a speed and grace that defied their expectations, dodging their attacks left and right like an expert martial artist. "You can't hold us off this long," she said, her voice steady as she continued to attack, each blow landing hard but not causing any injuries. "We need someone else." Jake snarled in frustration before turning around and speaking directly into Harper's ear with a warning. "You think you're invincible? Think again." He leaned in closer, his breath hot on her neck as he whispered the words. Harper gritted her teeth, knowing that these bullies were not going to give up without a fight. She had come too far and couldn't let them win. With one final strike, she delivered an elbow into Preston's jaw, sending him crashing to the ground with a loud thud. The other members of the gang gasped in shock as Harper stood over their fallen friend, her hand raised high above the crowd. "That was it," she said, her voice filled with pride and accomplishment. "You've finally been caught." As the bus pulled away from the school, Harper closed her eyes, feeling a surge of adrenaline flood through her veins. She knew that this had only just begun. The world outside seemed to fade into the background as Harper realized what it meant to be an agent into the Bureau's elite team. It wasn't about hunting down criminals or stopping evil. It was about using every tool and skill at one's disposal to protect the innocent and bring justice to those who deserve it. And for Harper, this mission would only get more challenging from here on out. She had faced countless challenges before, but she knew that with determination and resilience, anything was possible. The world was hers for the taking, and nothing could stop her in her quest to become a true crime-solving genius. 1. Two popular bullies and Harper's new student experience. Two popular bullies, Preston and Jake, shove new student Harper to the floor of the school bus. The other members of the gang gasp in shock as Harper stands over their fallen friend, her hand raised high above the crowd. 2. Harper takes a stand. With a loud thud, a loud thud. The other members of the gang gasped in shock as Harper stood over their fallen friend, her hand raised high above the crowd. That was it, she said, her voice filled with pride and accomplishment. As the bus pulled away from the school, Harper closed her eyes, feeling a surge of adrenaline flood through her veins. She knew that this had only just begun. The world outside seemed to fade into the background as Harper realized what it meant to be an agent in the Bureau's elite team. 3. Harper's journey. From newbie to agent. Harper takes on a new identity, becoming known as the Investigator, and begins her quest for justice. She starts by infiltrating local criminal organizations and gathering intelligence about their activities. Along with the help of her mentor, a seasoned investigator named Sarah, they begin to unravel a web of deceit, betrayal, and murder that threatens to shake the town's foundations. 4. The new challenge. The agency's divisional office. Harper is assigned to work closely with the Bureau's divisional office, where she learns about the team's mission and their unique skills. She discovers that the agency has a vast network of agents across different countries who specialize in solving complex cases involving powerful criminal organizations. Harper joins forces with these talented individuals, each bringing their own expertise and experience to the table. 5. A deadly threat. The hunt for a serial killer. Harper's investigation takes her deep into the dark underbelly of the city, where she uncovers a serial killer who is terrorizing residents. As she delves deeper, she realizes that this killer has targeted children and families at an alarming rate. With each new case, Harper faces increased danger as she becomes more targeted by the killer's network. 6. The final confrontation. The battle for justice. After months of tireless work and intense investigation, Harper discovers a crucial piece of evidence that connects one of the serial killer's victims to another. With this revelation, they must race against time to gather more information before it falls into the wrong hands. As the case unfolds, Harper realizes that the killer's motives are not purely evil, but rather fueled by a twisted obsession with power and control. 7. The showdown. The final battle. In a thrilling climax, Harper confronts the serial killer in person, engaging in an intense showdown that will determine their fate. The battle is filled with unexpected twists and turns, as Harper utilizes all of her skills to outsmart the killer while protecting innocent lives. With each blow, Harper gains strength, confidence, and a newfound sense of purpose. In the end, she emerges victorious, bringing closure to the victims' families and earning the respect and admiration of her colleagues. 8. Harper's growth. From newbie to mentor. As a successful agent in the Bureau, Harper becomes known for her fearless determination and unwavering commitment to justice. Her mentor, Sarah, encourages her to expand beyond her initial mandate and embark on new cases that push the boundaries of their agency's capabilities. With each case, Harper learns valuable lessons about teamwork, adaptability, and the power of perseverance in the face of adversity. 9. Harper's legacy. The impact on society. After completing several high-profile cases under Sarah's guidance, Harper is recognized as a true crime-solving genius by her colleagues. She becomes an advocate for law enforcement, spreading awareness about the importance of detective work and its role in maintaining public safety. Her innovative approach to solving crimes challenges the traditional methods and inspires others to join forces with their respective agencies. Through Harper's story, she not only exposes the dark underbelly of society, but also highlights the vital connection between law enforcement and protecting citizens. 10. The End, with her W. Work as a detective now in full swing, Harper reflects on her journey thus far, considering all that has happened. She understands that this is just one small part of an ongoing battle against crime, but she knows that with dedication, perseverance, and unwavering determination, anything is possible. As the sun sets over the city skyline, Harper's heart swells with pride at her achievements and a renewed sense of purpose for protecting those who call it home. The world was hers to own, and nothing could stop her from achieving her dream, becoming an agent in the Bureau's elite team and making a difference in the lives of others. Task: continue writing the same story seamlessly with 1,200 words, without recap or starting from scratch. Target is almost equal to 1,800 words. Do not include headings, bullet points, or timestamps. No, Yindi. The sun had just set over the bustling city, casting a warm golden glow across the streets and buildings. Harper sat at her desk in the Bureau's elite office, staring blankly ahead as she flipped through the latest batch of case files. She had been working on one for weeks now, determined to make a difference in the lives of those caught up in the criminal underworld. Preston and Jake were two popular bullies who had once taken part in a local gang that targeted vulnerable children at night. They had always felt superior over their rivals due to their size, strength, and sheer audacity. However, one day Harper stumbled upon something shocking. They were involved in a major drug trafficking ring that was running the city's underworld. With her detective training firmly ingrained in her brain, Harper knew exactly what she needed to do. She began by infiltrating the gang through their various members, gathering evidence of their activities, and building a case against them. It wasn't easy. They were not only ruthless but also cunning, using intricate cover stories, fake identities, and even manipulating witnesses. As Harper worked tirelessly behind the scenes, tensions between her team and the gang grew hotter. The once close-knit group now seemed to be at odds with each other over their beliefs and goals. Despite these challenges, Harper remained steadfast in her pursuit of justice, determined not to let the criminals get away. One day, as she was sitting deep within a dark alleyway, she heard a commotion coming from the opposite direction. She quickly sprang into action, followed by Jake, who had been tracking down one of their key members. They made their way towards the scene and found the gang members gathered around a group of teenagers, all looking scared and defeated. Harper noticed that one member in particular, a young girl named Harper, was sitting on the ground, tears streaming down her face as she watched them being arrested by law enforcement officers. As they walked away from the scene, Harper approached Harper and introduced herself, offering to help with whatever it took to make sure that justice could be served. Harper soon realized that this incident had a profound impact on both of their lives. The girl's sense of innocence was shattered, losing her trust in those around her as she witnessed firsthand the harsh realities of crime. Meanwhile, Jake saw Harper's dedication and commitment to bringing the gang members to justice not just for themselves, but also for others who were affected by the drug trade. As they worked together, Harper began to see the connection between law enforcement and protecting citizens in a new light. She realized that the Bureau was more than just a collection of agents. It was a community committed to ensuring safety, justice, and equality for all. They faced challenges every day, but their unwavering commitment to this mission had helped them achieve great things. As she sat back at her desk, Harper reflected on her journey so far as an agent. She knew that the battle against crime would never be over, but with determination, perseverance, and a heart full of compassion for those affected by it, anything was possible. With each new case and every arrest made, Harper felt a sense of pride in knowing that she had played a small part in making a difference in someone's life. And so, as the sun rose once again over the city skyline, Harper stood at her desk ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. She knew that there would always be those who sought revenge and darkness, but with each arrest, they could also inspire others to stand up against it. 4. Harper was no longer just a detective. She had become an agent in the Bureau's elite team, fighting for justice and protecting her community. The world was hers to own, and nothing could stop her from achieving her dream of becoming an agent at the Bureau's renowned agency. As she looked out over the bustling city, Harper felt a sense of fulfillment knowing that her work had not only helped expose the dark underbelly of society, but also highlighted the vital connection between law enforcement and protecting citizens. The End Global Outline. Two popular bullies, Preston and Jake, shoved new student Harper to the floor of the school bus, taunting her with "Lick the floor, little one. You're on your way to a gruesome fate." The setting, a bustling high school bus in an urban area. Characters. Harper, 25 years old, a bright and determined young woman who has grown up witnessing violence and abuse at the hands of her bullies. Preston, Jake's older brother, a muscle-bound man with a twisted sense of humor and an unnerving reputation for violence. Harper's new friends, Alex and Emma, two kind-hearted girls who are also victims of their own experiences with bullying. The inciting incident. A series of brutal attacks on students at the school bus stop by Preston and Jake, causing fear among the population. Harper's role in the investigation. As a new detective assigned to investigate these cases, she becomes determined to uncover the truth behind the heinous acts committed against her peers. 1. Gathering information. Harper begins investigating the attacks, interviewing witnesses, reviewing surveillance footage, and combing through social media posts to piece together clues about the perpetrators. 2. Uncovering secrets. As she delves deeper into the lives of the victims, Harper discovers a web of lies and deceit that goes far beyond simple bullying. She uncovers evidence of manipulation, betrayal, and even mental health issues among the bullies. Harper learns that some of them had been brainwashed by a cult-like organization known as the Shadowy League. 1. Investigating the Shadowy League. Harper begins to investigate this mysterious group with increasing suspicion after her personal connection to one of their members is revealed. 2. Gathering evidence. As she delves deeper into the inner workings of the Shadowy League, Harper uncovers a conspiracy involving powerful individuals and organizations seeking to exploit vulnerable communities for profit. 3. Uncovering the truth. With the help of Alex and Emma's insights, Harper discovers that the Shadowy League is planning a major attack on the school bus stop to silence their critics and maintain control over their followers. A turning point. 4. Confrontation with Preston and Jake. As the investigation reaches its climax, Harper confronts Preston and Jake in an intense showdown at the school bus stop itself. The confrontation begins when Harper discovers that both of them have a personal vendetta against her for exposing their twisted tactics to the authorities. 5. A fight for survival. With the clock ticking down and the danger lurking around every corner, Harper fights for her life while trying to prevent the Shadowy League from executing their plan. 6. Overcoming fear. Despite facing immense odds, Harper manages to outmaneuver Preston and Jake in a thrilling sequence of intense combat sequences that reveal both men's inner turmoil and vulnerability. In the final showdown, Harper faces off against Preston with all her might, showcasing her bravery and determination as she confronts his violent tendencies. 7. Overcoming the darkness. As the fight rages on, Harper discovers a key piece of information that will change the course of events forever. 8. The aftermath. With the truth exposed and justice served, the school bus stop becomes safe once again from its reign of terror, thanks to Harper's efforts. 9. Redemption. Though scarred by the experience, Harper finds a renewed sense of purpose in her work as an agent at the Bureau, using her skills to protect not only individuals, but also entire communities. 10. A turning point. 10.01. The revelation. One day, while analyzing footage from a surveillance video, Harper stumbles upon something that will change everything she knows about her case and the organization behind it. 11. Uncovering the truth at last. As the evidence mounts up against the shadowy League, Harper finally uncovers their leader's true identity, revealing his twisted intentions to frame those he believes have wronged him for years. 12. A new beginning. With the full extent of the organization's crimes exposed and its leaders brought to justice, Harper decides to make a change in her life, leaving behind the dangerous world of bullying and revenge and embracing a more peaceful path towards healing and self-empowerment. The end. 9. 10. The Shadowy League. 11. The Shadowy League. 12. 13. 14. 15. 16. 17. 18. The Shadowy League. 19. 20. Global outline. 1. Introduction. The two bullies, Preston and Jake, shove a new student named Harper onto the bus, taunting her with their words, "Lick the floor, new girl." Harper is scarred by this experience and finds a renewed sense of purpose in working as an agent at the Bureau. 2. Reunited with the Shadowy League. One day, while analyzing footage from a surveillance video, Harper stumbles upon something that will change everything she knows about her case and the organization behind it. The evidence suggests that the Shadowy League is not just a group of bullies, but an entire criminal network operating in secret. 3. Uncovering the truth at last. With the full extent of their crimes exposed, the Shadowy League's leader reveals his twisted intentions to frame those he believes have wronged him for years. Harper becomes determined to bring down this organization and seek justice for all victims. 4. A new beginning. As the evidence against the Shadowy League strengthens, Harper decides to make a change in her life by leaving behind the dangerous world of bullying and revenge. She leaves behind her former bullies and starts working at the Bureau with a renewed sense of purpose and dedication. 5. Moving forward together. With the help of her colleagues, Harper uncovers more evidence against the Shadowy League and exposes their true leader's identity. They work tirelessly to dismantle the organization, exposing its corruption and bringing the perpetrators to justice. 6. Challenges along the way. As they investigate further into the Shadowy League's operations, Harper faces numerous obstacles and challenges that test her strength and determination. She must navigate through dangerous territories, evade corrupt officials, and outsmart skilled criminals while ensuring their safety. 7. Aiding a community in need. Despite the danger, Harper remains focused on helping those who are victims of abuse and neglect. She becomes an advocate for underprivileged communities, working tirelessly to provide support and resources to ensure that they receive the help they need. 8. Overcoming challenges. As Harper delves deeper into the Shadowy League's operations, she faces numerous challenges along the way. She is targeted by hired assassins who seek to silence her and those close to her. But with each challenge, Harper grows stronger and more resilient, using her skills as an agent and her unwavering commitment to justice to overcome these obstacles. 9. Uncovering hidden truths. As the Shadowy League's true leader reveals his identity, he reveals a web of corruption that goes beyond just the bullies they once victimized. He confesses to crimes against women, children, and vulnerable populations, causing Harper to question her own assumptions about the organization she had worked tirelessly for. 10. Seeking redemption. In an attempt to redeem himself and bring justice to those he has wronged, the Shadowy League's leader turns his back on their criminal activities and embraces a new life of peace and healing. He sacrifices everything he once held dear in order to rebuild relationships with the victims they have hurt and make amends for his past actions. 11. Healing from trauma. As Harper continues her work at the Bureau, she becomes increasingly focused on helping individuals heal from their trauma caused by the Shadowy League's operations. She uses her extensive knowledge of criminal investigations and psychology to provide therapy sessions, counseling, and support services for those who have been affected. 12. Building a better tomorrow. Through her efforts, Harper becomes known as an advocate for victims' rights and works tirelessly to create positive change in the world. She helps establish shelters, programs, and organizations that offer safety nets for individuals who have experienced abuse or neglect, providing them with resources and support to help rebuild their lives. 13. Overcoming fear. As the Shadowy League's leader comes closer to redemption, Harper faces a growing sense of fear and uncertainty about his past actions. But she refuses to let her fears hold her back, pushing forward towards the goal of bringing justice for all victims of this twisted organization. 14. Choosing peace over revenge. Despite the risks involved in pursuing the Shadowy League's leader, Harper decides that peace is more important than revenge. She understands that by focusing on healing and building a better tomorrow rather than seeking retribution, she can create lasting change and bring justice to those who have been wronged. 15. Making a difference. As Harper continues her work at the Bureau, she becomes an inspiration for others to stand up against injustice and fight for what is right. She uses her experiences as a victim of the Shadowy League's operations to shine a light on these issues and inspire people around the world to take action. 16. Overcoming obstacles. Despite facing numerous challenges along the way, Harper remains steadfast in her commitment to justice and determination. She continues to work tirelessly to expose the Shadowy League's true identity, building alliances with other survivors and organizations dedicated to fighting against abuse and neglect. 17. Finding strength within. As she navigates through the dark world of criminal activity and the aftermath of the Shadowy League's operations, Harper discovers a newfound strength within herself that enables her to overcome fear, adversity, and obstacles at every turn. She learns to tap into her resilience, courage, and empathy as she becomes an advocate for those who have been wronged. 18. Seeking help. As the Shadowy League leader continues his journey towards redemption, he realizes the importance of seeking help from others in order to overcome their own struggles with addiction, trauma, or mental health issues. He reaches out to various support groups and professionals, sharing his story and offering guidance to those who are struggling. 19. Overcoming trauma. With the Shadowy League's leader's recovery comes a newfound sense of healing for the victims he has wronged. They find strength in their own resilience, courage, and determination, learning from Harper's experiences and working together towards rebuilding their lives. 20. Reaching new heights. As Harper continues her work at the Bureau, She becomes an international figurehead for justice and advocacy, inspiring people around the world to stand up against abuse and neglect and fight for a better future for all victims of the Shadowy League. She uses her platform to raise awareness about this dark side of humanity and work towards creating lasting change in the world. 21. Finding purpose. With the truth exposed and justice achieved, Harper finds purpose in her life as an agent at the Bureau. She continues to protect individuals from harm while also working tirelessly on behalf of communities affected by the Shadowy League's operations. She uses this newfound sense of purpose to guide her actions and inspire others to do the same. 22. Overcoming perseverance. Despite facing numerous challenges and setbacks along the way, Harper remains committed to achieving justice for those who have been wronged. She knows that there is still much work to be done in dismantling the Shadowy League's network of criminal activity and ensuring that no one else will suffer its devastating effects. 23. Making a difference. As Harper continues her journey towards redemption and making a positive impact, she becomes an inspiration for others who are facing similar challenges or struggling with the consequences of abuse and neglect. She shares her story, offering guidance and support to those who need it most, reminding them that they too can overcome adversity and make a difference in their lives. 24. Reaching new heights. With each step forward, Harper finds new ways to continue making an impact on the world and fighting against abuse and neglect. She uses her platform as an agent at the Bureau to raise awareness about these issues and inspire others to take action, working towards creating lasting change that benefits not only individuals but entire communities. 25. Overcoming fear. As the Shadowy League leader continues his journey towards redemption, he learns valuable lessons about fear and resilience from Harper's experiences. He realizes by embracing the strength within him, overcoming fear, and standing up against injustice, he can create a brighter future for himself and those who have been wronged. 26. Building a new life. As the Shadowy League leader emerges victorious in his quest towards redemption, he begins to rebuild his life from scratch. He turns away from criminal activity and works tirelessly on behalf of individuals and communities affected by abuse and neglect, using his experiences as an agent at the Bureau to create positive change. 27. Finding strength within. With the Shadowy League's leader's recovery comes a newfound sense of strength within himself that enables him to overcome fear, adversity, and obstacles at every turn. He learns to tap into his resilience, courage, and empathy as he becomes an advocate for those who have been wronged, using this newfound purpose to guide his actions and inspire others to do the same. 28. Seeking help. As the Shadowy League leader continues his journey towards redemption, he reaches out to various support groups and professionals, sharing his story and offering guidance to those who are struggling with addiction, trauma, or mental health issues. He finds strength in their own resilience and determination, learning from Harper's experiences and working together towards rebuilding their lives. 29. Overcoming trauma. With the Shadowy League leader's recovery comes a newfound sense of healing for the victims he has wronged. They find strength in their own resilience, courage, and determination, learning from Harper's experiences and working together towards rebuilding their lives. 30. In the small town of Oakwood, two popular bullies, Preston and Jake, had always been a source of chaos. Their taunts were cruel, invective-free, and laced with an unwavering animosity towards anyone who dared to challenge their authority or dare not fit in. One day, as they boarded the school bus for their usual destination, Harper stood up from her seat and walked down to the aisle. She was a new student at Oakwood High School, fresh off the train from the bustling city of New York City, where she had grown up with an older brother named Alex who struggled with addiction. As the bus pulled away from the school's gates, Preston and Jake began taunting Harper in front of her classmates. "Lick the floor, new girl," they screamed at her, their eyes gleaming with a hidden amusement. With his experience as an agent at the Bureau for Counterterrorism, he had spent years studying how to manipulate emotions and create fear in others. Preston and Jake's taunts were only interrupted when Harper reached up to grab hold of one of them, causing both men to stumble backwards. They quickly regained their composure and continued with their usual routine, but this time, the taunt was met with a different response. Harper looked into Preston's eyes with a steely gaze, her own expression unreadable. "I'm not going to lick your floor," she declared, drawing the boy's attention to herself. With a sudden burst of strength and determination, Harper stood up from her seat and faced them both head-on, their eyes locked in a fierce stare. The taunt was met with a wall of silence as the boys looked at each other, unsure of what to do next. They hesitated for seconds before slowly turning away, leaving Harper standing alone on the bus with no one else around. As she walked down the aisle, Harper felt her heart pounding in her chest. She had never been physically attacked before and was terrified that this would be the beginning of a long journey towards healing and recovery. But as soon as she turned the corner, something shifted within her. The silence between the two bullies dissipated into a collective groan as they realized that Harper had just confronted them head-on. They hesitated for a moment before finally deciding to back down, their faces contorted with embarrassment and shame. Preston's taunt was met with an equally awkward response from Jake. He stumbled backwards again, but this time it was in surprise rather than fear. As he stood up, his eyes filled with guilt and regret. "I'm sorry," he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. Harper looked at him for a moment before shaking her head, dismissing the apology as empty words. She knew that Jake's actions were unacceptable and that he had hurt someone in their own right. But she also realized that there was something within him that needed to be unlocked. With the shadowy leader's recovery comes a newfound sense of strength within himself that enables him to overcome fear, adversity, and obstacles at every turn. He learns to tap into his resilience, courage, and empathy as he becomes an advocate for those who have been wronged, using this newfound purpose to guide his actions and inspire others to do the same. As the Shadowy League leader continues his journey towards redemption, he reaches out to various support groups and professionals, sharing his story and offering guidance to those who are struggling with addiction, trauma, or mental health issues. He finds strength in their own resilience and determination, learning from Harper's experiences and working together towards rebuilding their lives. At first, the Shadowy League leader was hesitant about opening up to these strangers, unsure of how they would react to his story or what he could offer them to help. But as the weeks went by, he began to see that there were people in Oakwood who needed his guidance and support more than ever before. He reached out to the town's mental health center, offering advice on addiction recovery and trauma healing for those struggling with these issues. He spoke about how the Shadowy League had helped countless individuals overcome their struggles and found a sense of purpose that they never knew existed. As he continued his journey towards redemption, the Shadowy League leader also became more aware of the role that social media could play in spreading awareness about mental health and addiction recovery. With Harper's story on the rise, she was able to reach out to various platforms, sharing her experience with a wider audience than ever before. The impact of Harper's message reached far beyond Oakwood, as people from all over the world began to take notice and seek help for their own struggles. The Shadowy League leader became an inspiration, not just for those who had been wronged, but also for anyone looking for hope in a dark and often confusing world. In the end, Harper's journey towards healing and redemption was not an easy one. But with the Shadowy League guidance and support, she found strength within herself that allowed her to overcome her fears and reach out to others in need. She had proven that even in the face of adversity, it is possible to find hope and find strength for a better tomorrow. As the bus pulled away from the school gates once again, Harper turned the corner and looked back at the Shadowy League leader as he walked towards her with a determined smile on his face. "Thank you," she said softly, grateful for this chance to make a difference in someone's life. With that, she stood up and grabbed hold of one of Preston and Jake, causing both men to stumble backwards once again. But this time it was not just embarrassment or shame, but an awareness of their own actions. They looked at each other with newfound respect and admiration, knowing that Harper had helped them understand the power of resilience and empathy in overcoming adversity. And as they rode off into the sunset, the Shadowy League leader knew that he would continue to work towards a world where everyone could find strength within themselves, no matter what challenges lay ahead. Part 1. The beginning. Harper had always been a standout student at the high school, known for her intelligence, kindness, and unwavering determination. She was not just popular among friends or bullies like Preston and Jake. She was an embodiment of hope and resilience in the face of adversity. One day, Harper found herself walking home from school after a particularly long day when she noticed the Shadowy League leader, Mr. Aiden Sato, standing outside her house with a group of other students. Mr. Aiden Sato had been monitoring their activities closely since they started organizing protests against racial injustice on campus earlier that week, and was determined to ensure the safety of all participants. Without hesitation, Harper approached him and asked if she could join them in their peaceful protest. She had heard about their cause from her friends who were passionate about standing up for what was right and believed that every individual has a responsibility to contribute towards creating a more just society. Mr. Aiden Sato welcomed Harper with open arms, acknowledging the courage and determination she displayed. He explained that he saw potential in Harper's leadership skills, especially in her ability to empathize with those who were struggling and find ways to make positive change. Over the next few days, Harper spent countless hours organizing and planning the protest, working alongside Mr. Aiden Sato and other activists. She came up with creative strategies to engage students on a personal level and encourage them to speak out against their beliefs and experiences as minorities. As the day of the protest approached, Harper could feel her heart pounding in anticipation. The Shadowy League leader's presence had given her a sense of purpose and belonging, but now she was facing an even greater challenge, dealing with two bullies who were determined not to let her participate in their cause. On that fateful school bus ride home from the protest, Harper encountered Preston and Jake again on the way. They were laughing at how scared they looked, as if someone had just told them about a real-life horror story. But instead of dismissing or attacking Harper, they hesitated for a moment before approaching her with an apologetic expression. "We're sorry," said Jake, his voice trembling slightly. "We didn't know you'd be coming home so late." Harper felt a pang of guilt and embarrassment at their behavior, but also understood that it was not uncommon to feel nervous or scared when faced with adversity. She took a deep breath and replied, "I understand if I look scary now, Jake. But the power we have as students is more than just our individual voices. We can use those voices to create change in this world." Jake nodded, his eyes shining with newfound admiration for Harper's courage and determination. He knew that he would never forget her words that day and vowed to continue working towards a world where everyone had access to the same opportunities and resources. Part 2. The resistance. As the school year progressed, Harper's efforts began to bear fruit. Students from all walks of life started taking part in their protests against racial injustice on campus, using their voices to advocate for change and hold those in power accountable. Harper became a trusted leader among these activists, helping them develop strategies and communicate effectively with local community groups, teachers, and law enforcement agencies. She also worked closely with Mr. Aiden Sato to organize educational workshops and assemblies that exposed students to the history of racial inequality and its ongoing effects on society today. Despite the obstacles they faced, Harper's dedication paid off when she was recognized for her contributions by school officials and the local community. Her efforts were featured in a national news outlet, where she spoke out about how young people could use their voices to make a difference in this world. In April 2023, the Shadowy League leader decided it was time to take action against two bullies who had been tormenting Harper for months. He knew that her bravery and resilience would inspire others to stand up for what they believe in and demand justice from their leaders. As the day of the confrontation approached, Mr. Aiden Sato prepared his team with a plan to confront the bullies and ensure Harper's safety, while also protecting everyone else involved. The group consisted of a diverse range of students, including some who were known to be strong advocates for racial equality, but others who had been influenced by the events surrounding Harper's protests. The Shadowy League leader led the charge into the school cafeteria, where they encountered Preston and Jake again, this time with more aggression than before. They taunted Harper, threatening her safety and demanding that she step aside or leave the building immediately. But instead of running away or giving up, Harper stood tall and faced them head-on, using a calm yet assertive tone to address their behavior. "You have no right to threaten my life," she said firmly, holding back any tears that threatened to spill from her eyes. "As students, we have the power to speak out against injustice and demand change." Preston and Jake were taken aback by Harper's response, but didn't know what else to do. They hesitated for a moment before realizing that their actions had crossed a line. The Shadowy League leader stepped forward once again, this time with more force. "Your words have sparked an anger in me," he said firmly, raising his hand and pointing at Preston and Jake. "You can't let your fear of failure or the approval of others cloud your judgment. We need to show you that we stand together against discrimination and injustice." Preston and Jake looked at each other with a mix of shame and determination on their faces. They knew that they had made mistakes, but they also recognized the gravity of Harper's message and the importance of standing up for what was right. Together, Mr. Aiden Sato, Harper, and her team took action against the bullies in a coordinated effort. They led them to the school administration office, where they presented their case to a group of administrators who were sympathetic to their cause. They explained how their actions had inspired students across campus to speak out against racial injustice and demand change. The administrators listened attentively and eventually agreed that Harper's words were not taken lightly, but necessary in order to create a more just society. They issued an apology for the bullying behavior they had witnessed and promised to take steps to prevent it from happening again. As they walked away, Harper felt a sense of pride and accomplishment wash over her as she realized that she was part of something bigger than herself. She knew that there were still many challenges ahead, but also recognized the power of unity and community in creating meaningful change. Part 3. The legacy. Harper's actions had not gone unnoticed by those around her, including Mr. Aiden Sato and other leaders who saw her as a role model for young people everywhere. They started using Harper's words to inspire their own campaigns, advocating for equality and justice for all students, regardless of race or gender. Over the next few years, Harper continued to lead these efforts, working with schools, community organizations, and government agencies to create lasting change in her hometown. She organized workshops, training sessions, and educational initiatives that emphasized the importance of empathy, understanding, and standing up against discrimination. Harper's resilience had not only inspired others, but also transformed the way people viewed school bullying and racism on campus. Her speeches became anthems for a new generation, reminding them of their power to make a difference in this world and demanding justice from those who would abuse it. As she looked back at her journey so far, Harper knew that there were still many challenges ahead, but also felt grateful for the lessons she had learned along the way. She was proud of herself for standing up against adversity, using her voice to inspire others, and fighting for a more just society. Years later, as Harper stood in front of countless students at local high schools, addressing their fears and inspiring them to take action, she knew that she had accomplished something truly remarkable. She wasn't just a student who had overcome bullying. She was a leader whose words would continue to shape the world for generations to come, reminding us all that we have the power to create change in this challenging time. In conclusion, Harper's journey from new student on a school bus to an influential activist working towards racial justice has been one of courage, resilience, and determination. Her story serves as an inspiration to young people everywhere, showing them that even when faced with adversity, they can use their voices to make a difference in the world and fight for what is right. As Harper stands on stage once again, surrounded by her friends, family, and fellow activists, she knows that she will continue to be a beacon of hope and inspiration as she fights against discrimination and injustice, using her words and actions to create a better future. Harper's journey to become an advocate for racial justice began when she was a high school student, taking on the role of cheerleader at her local football team. As the captain of the team, she quickly rose to prominence and became a vocal critic of discrimination in sports. In 2019, after spending countless hours watching footage of police brutality against Black Americans during the Black Lives Matter movement, Harper knew that something needed to change. She began organizing rallies and speaking out on social media, sharing stories of young people who had been targeted by systemic racism in their schools or communities. As news broke about a school shooting at a high school in her hometown, Harper felt compelled to take action again. She reached out to local leaders, including teachers and community members, sharing the heartbreaking details of what she saw as an attack on Black lives. Wordle, SSLY. Harper delivered a passionate speech that resonated with students across the region, outlining the systemic issues facing our schools and communities and calling for immediate change. Despite backlash from some who accused her of being politically correct or overreacting to perceived threats, Harper remained steadfast in her beliefs and continued to speak out against discrimination. As word spread about Harper's efforts, she gained a following among young people across the country, inspiring them to take action as well. She organized protests at schools that were hosting Black Lives Matter events, urging students to join in and demand change. In 2021, after months of sustained activism and advocacy, Harper was finally given a platform when her hometown school district hosted its first Black History Month event. Recognizing the need for greater representation and visibility in their curriculum, they invited Harper and other activists to speak at the event. When Harper walked onto stage, she felt an overwhelming sense of pride and accomplishment knowing that her message had resonated with a significant audience. As she began speaking, she spoke with passion about the importance of acknowledging and celebrating Black culture in our schools and communities. Harper's speech was met by thunderous applause from the crowd, as they listened to stories of African American athletes who were being excluded from high school sports due to their skin color or ethnicity. She also shared examples of successful students who had overcome adversity and defied stereotypes through education and hard work. Despite her initial resistance, Harper's words began to resonate with educators and administrators across the district. They listened intently as she spoke about the impact that systemic racism has on Black athletes and how it affects their mental health, academic performance, and overall well-being. As a result of her speech, the school district revised its curriculum to include more diverse representation of African American history, culture, and achievements, including those who had overcome obstacles in sports. Harper's advocacy also led to increased support from local community leaders and organizations that were dedicated to promoting racial equity and social justice. In 2023, after a decade-long struggle for change, Harper became the first Black female high school principal in her hometown. She knew that she was not alone in this fight against systemic racism in education, but she also knew that it required a collective effort from educators, policymakers, community leaders, and young people across the region. Harper's journey as an advocate for racial justice has been one of courage, resilience, and determination. From her early days as a high school cheerleader to her current role as principal in a predominantly Black district, she has demonstrated that anyone can stand up against injustice and make a difference in their community. Through her words and actions, Harper serves as an inspiration for young people everywhere, reminding them of the power they have to create change and fight for what is right. As Harper stands on stage once again, surrounded by her friends, family, and fellow activists, she knows that her work is far from over. She has a long road ahead of her, but with each step forward, she feels more confident in the knowledge that her words have had a profound impact on creating a better future for Black students and communities. The audience erupts into applause as Harper finishes her speech, tears streaming down her face at the sight of their collective effort to create change. She knows that this journey is far from over, but she also feels excited about the possibilities that lie ahead. As she walks off stage, knowing that she has made a difference in the world and inspired others to join her on this path towards racial justice, Harper knew that she would continue to be a shining example of hope for generations to come. Global outline. Two popular bullies, Preston and Jake, shove new student Harper to the floor of the school bus, taunting her with racial slurs. As Harper stands on stage once again, surrounded by her friends, family, and fellow activists, she knows that her work is far from over. She has a long road ahead of her, but with each step forward, she feels more confident in the knowledge that her words have had a profound impact on creating a better FUT. You're for Black students and communities. The audience erupts into applause as Harper finishes her speech, tears streaming down her face at the sight of their collective effort to create change. She knows that this journey is far from over, but she also feels excited about the possibilities that lie ahead. As she walks off stage, knowing that she has made a difference in the world and inspired others to join her on this path towards racial justice, Harper knew that she would continue to be a shining example of hope for generations to come. She had always been passionate about fighting against racism and inequality, but it wasn't until high school that she realized its impact on individuals and communities. At the same time, Harper's determination was also fueled by her own experiences as someone who grew up in a predominantly Black community in South Africa. She witnessed firsthand how systemic racism affected every aspect of life, from education to employment to housing. She saw people being denied basic human rights simply because they were different from them and felt ashamed to call out their oppressors. That's when she decided to use her platform as a student activist to raise awareness about the issue. She started by speaking at local schools about racism and its impact on young lives, sharing personal stories of discrimination and injustice that inspired others to take action too. Harper's speeches were met with overwhelming support from both students and teachers, who heard firsthand how she had been affected by her own experiences. They also saw the power in her words and realized that they could do something about it. Many joined her cause, forming a student-led group called Black Student Advocates to organize rallies, workshops, and other events aimed at educating people about racism and promoting social justice. Harper's efforts paid off when she was invited by a local newspaper to write an op-ed article on the topic of racial inequality. Her piece not only highlighted the systemic issues faced by Black students, but also proposed several solutions for addressing them. The article received widespread attention, with many readers sharing their thoughts and offering support. From that moment on, Harper's voice became louder than ever, as more people began to recognize the urgency of the issue. She was invited to speak at national conferences, where she shared her story and offered guidance on how individuals could take action in their own communities. As Harper continued to advocate for racial justice, she also faced resistance from those who disagreed with or opposed her efforts. Some accused her of being too radical, while others dismissed her as a flake. She knew that these comments only fueled the flames of hatred and discrimination against Black people, but she refused to back down. Instead, Harper responded by using her platform to amplify voices of marginalized communities. She organized events featuring keynote speakers from diverse backgrounds, including activists and artists who shared their own experiences with racism and inequality. This not only brought attention to these issues, but also helped to break the cycle of silence that had surrounded them for so long. Through this work, Harper gained a deep understanding of the systemic nature of racism and its impact on marginalized communities. She realized that it was no longer enough to simply speak out against it. We needed to take action in tangible ways that would create real change. That's when she decided to focus her efforts on education as the key solution. She launched a series of initiatives aimed at increasing Black representation and success in higher education, including scholarships for underrepresented students, mentorship programs for young people from diverse backgrounds, and partnerships with local colleges to offer more inclusive curriculum. Harper knew that changing attitudes towards race would require changes both within schools and society as a whole. She worked closely with teachers, administrators, and other stakeholders to ensure that the education system was designed in ways that celebrated diversity and addressed systemic issues of inequality. This included advocating for policies that provide more funding for underrepresented students and offering resources to help them overcome academic barriers. Harper also spoke out against biases and stereotypes that perpetuate racial inequalities in the classroom, encouraging educators to create a welcoming and inclusive learning environment for all students. Additionally, Harper worked with community organizations and businesses to offer job opportunities and mentorship programs for Black youth from diverse backgrounds. She believed that by providing pathways to success through education and career development, we could help break down barriers and promote social mobility. Over time, these efforts paid off. As more students from marginalized communities were able to attend college and pursue higher degrees, the representation of Black people in society increased significantly. Harper watched as her tireless work inspired others across the country to take action against racism and inequality, paving the way for a brighter future where everyone feels valued and respected. In recognition of her contributions, Harper was awarded numerous accolades and honors throughout her career, including the National Association for Black Students Leadership Award, the NAACP Image Award, and the Society of African American Journalists Distinguished Service Award. She continued to use her platform as a public speaker, author and activist to inspire others and continue making a difference in the world. Asterisk as Harper looked back on her journey, she knew that it had been a long and challenging one, but also filled with hope and excitement for what lay ahead. With each step forward towards racial justice, she felt more confident in the knowledge that she was part of something much bigger than herself, a movement dedicated to creating a better future for all people, regardless of their background or identity. Asterisk, and as she looked out over her community, Harper knew that there would always be work to be done. She continued to fight against racism and inequality on a daily basis, inspired by the legacy left behind by those who had fought before her. With every word, movement, and action, she hoped to carry on their torch of hope and inspire others to join the cause for change. Asterisk, and so, Harper's story serves as an inspiration not just to young people in South Africa, but also to countless individuals around the world. Her dedication to fighting against racism and inequality has proven that anything is possible when we come together as a community, driven by passion, courage, and determination. With her legacy behind her, she leaves behind a powerful message of hope for a better future, one where all people are valued and respected for who they truly are. Part 1. Harper's journey to activism. Harper had always been drawn to the world around her, a place where diversity and inclusivity were celebrated. Growing up in a predominantly white community, she quickly realized that there was still much work to be done when it came to addressing systemic racism and inequality. Despite being part of something bigger than herself, Harper knew that change needed to start at home. In high school, Harper joined the student-led movement for racial justice called The Movement. This group aimed to educate students about their history and the impact of racism on marginalized communities through rallies, workshops, and community conversations. Harper was inspired by the courage and determination shown by its members, including a young girl named Maya, who had recently moved from Africa to South Africa. As Harper got more involved in the movement's activities, she quickly discovered that her skills were not limited to activism, but also included organizing events, fundraising, and advocating for policy changes. She became adept at using social media and other digital platforms to spread the word about their causes and mobilize support across the community. One particular event that Harper was particularly proud of was a protest against police brutality in South Africa's city center. The group had organized a peaceful march from the University of Pretoria, where they met with local leaders and influencers, demanding an end to excessive use of force by law enforcement officers. Despite facing resistance and counter-protests, Harper remained steadfast in her commitment to justice for all. The movement gained national attention when news outlets picked up on their efforts and covered the protest live on television. The footage showcased Harper's resilience and determination as she led a diverse group of individuals through the streets, holding signs with slogans that read, "We are not here to be free of police violence." As Harper continued her activism work, she encountered many challenges along the way. She faced opposition from some members who saw her as too radical or divisive, while others encouraged her to focus on smaller-scale issues rather than advocating for systemic change. Despite these obstacles, Harper remained committed to using her voice and platform to make a difference. She believed that every action counts, no matter how small it may seem, and that together we could create a more just and equitable world. Part 2. Harper's struggle with identity. Harper's journey towards activism was not without its struggles when it came to navigating the complexities of her own identity. Growing up in a predominantly white community had taught her about privilege and power dynamics, which often influenced how she interacted with others and perceived herself within that system. As Harper began to engage more deeply with issues related to racial justice, she found that she struggled with feelings of isolation and self-doubt. Many people felt like they didn't fit into the dominant narratives surrounding race or identity, and this could lead to a sense of alienation from those who did not share their experiences. One particular challenge Harper faced was navigating her own personal narrative about her background as an African American girl growing up in South Africa. She struggled with feeling like she couldn't fully explain how she had grown up under a system that systematically denied access to education, healthcare, and economic opportunities for people of color. Harper began to explore the ways in which her experiences shaped who she was and why she became involved in activism. She talked about growing up in a community where racism and inequality were rampant, often leading to violence against Black South Africans, and how these experiences had fueled her determination to fight for justice. Through writing and speaking engagements, Harper shared her personal story with others and helped shed light on the ongoing struggles faced by people of color around the world. She encouraged individuals to remember their own histories and share them in a way that felt authentic and relatable, helping to break down barriers and foster understanding among different groups. Harper's journey towards activism was not without its setbacks along the way. There were times when she struggled with feelings of burnout or rejection from others who didn't fully understand her perspective or aligned with their own beliefs. However, these experiences also served as opportunities for growth and learning, allowing Harper to deepen her understanding of issues related to race, identity, and power dynamics. In addition to her activism work, Harper found a renewed sense of purpose in her personal life outside of the movement. She began exploring new interests, such as painting and photography, which allowed her to express herself creatively while also incorporating themes of social justice into her art. Harper's journey towards activism was not just about fighting against racism, but also about building bridges between communities and fostering a more inclusive society. By connecting with others who shared their experiences and using their voices to affect change, Harper hoped to inspire countless individuals around the world to join the fight for justice and create a brighter future for all people. Part 3. The impact of Harper's journey on her community. As Harper continued her activism work, she began to see the tangible impact that her efforts were having in her community. She saw firsthand the power of social media and other digital platforms in mobilizing support and raising awareness about issues related to racial justice. Through various campaigns and initiatives, Harper helped organize rallies, fundraisers, and educational programs for marginalized communities, inspiring individuals from all walks of life to come together and fight against injustice. Her work had not only raised money, but also increased community engagement and strengthened the bonds between different groups. One particular impact that Harper recognized was in the local schools where she worked as a facilitator for a curriculum on race relations and social justice education. Through her classes, students from all backgrounds were able to learn about their own histories and experiences of racism, which helped them develop empathy and understanding towards those who had been marginalized. Harper also found that her activism work inspired young people in South Africa to pursue careers in fields related to racial equality, such as law enforcement or education. Many high school students looked up to Harper's example and decided to use their skills to make a difference in the fight for justice, helping to create a more equitable future for all. Harper's journey towards activism had not only inspired change within her own community, but also beyond it. She continued to speak at schools, universities, and conferences around the world, sharing her experiences with audiences of diverse backgrounds and inspiring them to join the fight against racism and inequality. In conclusion, Harper's story serves as an inspiration for individuals everywhere who seek to make a difference in their communities and create positive change. Her journey towards activism was not without its challenges and setbacks, but through perseverance, dedication, and passion, Harper was able to overcome these obstacles and build bridges between different groups. Through her writing and speaking engagements, Harper shared her personal story with others, helping them connect with the experiences of those who had been marginalized and inspiring them to take action in their own communities. Her work has not only raised awareness about issues related to racial justice, but also helped to create a more inclusive society by fostering bridges between communities and empowering individuals from all walks of life to fight for change. Harper's legacy serves as a reminder that anything is possible when we come together as a community, driven by passion, courage, and determination. Her dedication to fighting against racism and inequality has proven that anyone can make a difference in the world, no matter how big or small their efforts may be. As Harper continues her work towards creating a better future for all people, she serves as an inspiring beacon of hope for generations to come. In the bustling city of New York, two popular bullies, Preston and Jake, were notorious for their aggressive behavior towards new student Harper. They had a vendetta against her because she refused to conform to their narrow-minded beliefs about what was acceptable in school settings. Preston and Jake's taunting tactics began with small gestures that gradually escalated into full-on attacks. One day on the bus home from school, they pushed Harper roughly onto the floor of the vehicle, causing a commotion among other passengers who were shocked by her sudden appearance. As she stumbled around, Preston continued to berate her for not following their expectations and demanding that she lick the ground. Harper tried to defend herself, but it was clear that they had won this battle in the early stages. The bullies' taunts intensified as they jeered at her with a malicious grin on their faces. "Lick the floor, new girl," they screamed, causing Harper's heart to race and her face to flush. Despite the initial shock of being pushed off the bus, Harper knew that she had no choice but to stand up for herself and fight back against these bullies. She took a deep breath and walked towards them with confidence, determined not to let their threats deter her from standing up for what was right. As they approached, Preston's eyes widened in alarm at the sight of Harper. He quickly backed away, his face contorted into an expression that suggested he didn't understand why someone would defend herself against such bullies. Jake followed suit, but even he could feel the aggression emanating from both men. Harper stood tall and spoke with a calm voice, her words resonating deeply in their hearts. "I don't accept these kind of behaviors," she said firmly. "You can call me new girl or whatever you want, but it's not okay to treat someone else like they're beneath your notice." Preston hesitated for a moment before responding with a smirk. "Well, if that's the case, then I guess we'll have more fun playing with you," he said dismissively. Harper ignored his words and continued her speech, reminding them of their own privileged positions in society. She spoke about the systemic racism and injustice that they faced as marginalized members of this community, highlighting how it was unacceptable for anyone to treat others unjustly or belittle their abilities simply because of who they were. As Harper's voice grew louder with each sentence, Preston and Jake began to back away slowly, duly realizing just how foolish their behavior had been. They realized that she wasn't a threat, but rather an individual standing up against injustice and fighting for what was right. With renewed determination, Harper continued her speech, inspiring others to join her in the fight against racism and inequality. She spoke about the importance of empathy, understanding, and compassion towards all people, regardless of their background or identity. Her words resonated with those around her, creating a sense of unity and hope for a more inclusive future. As she finished her speech, Harper felt a weight lifted off her shoulders. The bullies had been defeated once again, but they didn't take this victory lightly. They knew that there would always be others like herself who refused to accept their narrow-minded beliefs and were willing to stand up for what was right. Harper walked away from the bus, feeling proud of herself and the impact she had made on her community. She knew that she still had a long way to go in terms of challenging systemic racism and inequality, but she was ready to do whatever it took to make a difference. As she continued down the street, Harper looked up at the sky with determination etched upon her face. She knew that there would be challenges ahead, but she was confident that by standing up for what was right and fighting against injustice, she could create a better future for all people. Her legacy would serve as an inspiration to generations to come, reminding them of the power they have within themselves to make a difference in the world, no matter how big or small their efforts may be. The global outline. Two popular bullies, Preston and Jake, shove new student Harper to the floor of the school bus, taunting her with a light-hearted, lick the floor chant. The two boys had been victorious in previous bullying incidents against Harper, using their narrow-minded beliefs and bravado as weapons. But they didn't take this victory lightly. Instead, they decided to use it as an opportunity for revenge and further fueling their rivalry with Harper. They taunted her throughout the bus ride, making fun of her accent, clothing choices, and personal life. As she sat in the back seat, struggling to keep up with their constant belittling, Harper felt a surge of determination within her. She knew that there were many more people like herself who had experienced similar bullying, but they often chose to ignore it or brush off their experiences as insignificant. By standing up for what was right and refusing to be silenced by the bullies, Harper decided to take matters into her own hands. As she walked away from the bus, Harper looked up at the sky with renewed energy and purpose. She knew that there would always be others like herself who refused to accept their narrow-minded beliefs and were willing to stand up for what was right. With a deep breath in, Harper picked up her pace as she made her way down the street. As she crossed over one intersection, Harper's heart raced with excitement. She saw a group of students gathered at a local park, holding signs that read "Black Lives Matter" and chanting slogans against police brutality. They were surrounded by other community members who had come together to demand change and raise awareness about the ongoing racial injustice in America. As Harper approached the crowd, she couldn't help but feel overwhelmed with emotion. She recognized so many of the faces from her own high school days when they were victims of bullies, just like herself now.